And yeah, I've kind of
Happy
deliberately not
Monday.
updated that.
I wasn't even gonna say anything at this point. I know you're doing.
We've had multiple conversations about how I fit in with the GOG and all that other stuff. So we'll talk about that more offline if you want to talk about it. However, it has been a few weeks. Yeah, it's just been a few weeks.
Yeah,
how have you guys been? Who wants to go first?
Mike.
You've been voluntold, Mike. Go.
I've been voluntold. I have been great. I think.
You think?
Nothing. I think so. Nothing terribly horrific has happened. So, okay, I'm okay.
Good.
I don't know.
It's a very optimistic start here. I like that.
I mean,
it's we're all tongue tied tonight.
I haven't been miserable. I think that's
yeah, right. Life doesn't suck. I am fixated though on Rob's green hair, though.
Oh yeah, I put a new light up above.
I like it.
Yeah, I
like it.
Nick was like trying to talk to me, and I was like, I'm just gonna mess with the lights.
I hadn't really noticed it. I just assumed it was the lighting, not.
It is the lighting.
Okay, I didn't think he actually dyed his hair or anything.
No,
I just assumed it was the way the lights were going.
It's like a little green glow.
Little green goblin going.
Well, I mean,
kind of got a green.
Is one of the movies for tonight, so you know. What's up, Mazen? Good to see you.
What's up, Mazen? And what's up, everyone in chat? Sorry, didn't address you guys. Happy Monday. Hope everyone had a nice long weekend that didn't make it too miserable. It is a Christmas movie, and so
it's absolutely a Christmas movie. Absolutely a Christmas movie.
Yeah, the long weekend just makes that Monday extra rough. So
Shrek's a Christmas. I'm very confused.
Shrek a Christmas
Shrek
movie?
Is not a Christmas movie.
However, there any Christmas imagery or messaging in Shrek.
I believe there was a Shrek Christmas special though.
Okay, I haven't seen that one, but hi, King.
Shrek the Halls is what it was called.
So Karami's here. People are starting to filter in. We got about 10. Sandwich is here.
What's going on, everybody?
Ball Evolution.
With that.
For Thanksgiving.
Karami's just messing with us now.
That one's right up there. That's right up there with classics like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
I have not, I haven't seen Planes, Trains, and Automobiles in a long time.
Okay,
I put it on there because it's an absolute classic that I've not seen in too long.
Rob, for a quick second, he started to say, I hadn't seen Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and I was hoping.
No.
He was going to finish that sentence.
No. I've seen the movie. It's just been a long time since I saw it.
Oh, I love that.
And honestly, it's sort of sad in a lot of ways. It's funny through a lot of it, but it's kind of sad.
Movie.
Yeah.
I don't love it as much as a lot of people do.
I love it. It's one of my favorites.
It does show off the comedy genius of John Candy, though. Like he.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not a huge John Candy fan either, but I won't deny that he, like, very few people can improv like he can. Maybe Dan Aykroyd.
I am a big John Candy fan. There's a lot of movies of his I really like.
See, I think Chris Farley was a good improver like he was.
I wasn't as big of a fan of Chris Farley, though. I've gotten a better appreciation for him over the years. Sorry, Rob, go ahead.
That's right. But was he as good as John Candy? Like, I believe all the lines that he spoke in Home Alone, I think probably most of the lines he's spoken in a lot of his movies were rattled off the top of his head. But I think he completely improvised the character in Home Alone, and that was just like in depth. I
don't remember John Candy being in Home Alone. Which Home Alone are you talking about?
The first one.
The first Home Alone.
He was.
Oh, that's right. That's right. He was the one taking the mother back.
Yeah.
That was part of the I forgot about that. Yeah, the polka band.
The polka band. Well, and see that goes back to his. I mean, he did a lot of improving in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. That goes back to his days at Second City when he was on SCTV, and a lot of those guys like him and Martin Short and
Carla.
Shoot, I got his name. I know that I can see him, but I can't think of his name. But a lot of the jackass guy from Happy Gilmore. He
Oh,
was
Shooter McGavin.
No.
No.
The guy,
He was
the guy
the
that
one
guy
that
that hits him with
literally
the car.
kept saying jackass.
Yeah, jackass.
I can't remember his name either. He's kind of he's a really good bit part actor, but I don't think I've seen him as a main role in almost anything.
But he was big on Second City TV. Joe Flaherty. Well, all those guys, Joe Flaherty, Eugene Levy, Rick Moranis, all those guys. Harold Ramis was SCTV. Who else was? Dave Thomas was SCTV. Catherine O'Hara. Like that was, when everybody else was watching Saturday Night Live, I was watching SCTV because it was just, to me, it was so much better.
See, Saturday Night Live, I really enjoyed right around the time that you had like Eddie Murphy and a bunch of those in the cast that came in just after them. You had a lot of good people like Adam Sandler and Norm Macdonald and a bunch of those others that came out of that crew. After that, I kind of started tapering off of it because the comedy just wasn't resonating with me anymore. It wasn't that it got better or worse. It just wasn't hitting with me, but it probably wasn't supposed to. It was aimed for a different audience.
Aimed for a different audience.
Right.
And I go back even before that. I mean, with my age, my advanced years, I go back to when, when John
You're
Belushi.
only like 3-4 years ahead of me, sir.
I know, but I'm talking to John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy.
I saw some of those, but I wasn't watching Saturday Night Live as actively then. I think because I was just at that age where my parents didn't want me to stay up that late. You know what I mean?
Those were the great days.
Some of those are great though. John Belushi with the sushi chef guy that
samurai delicatessen. Chibaga. That whole thing that actually spawned a restaurant chain called Cheeseburger.
Yeah, actually, I used to go to that restaurant. It was actually a really good burger.
that was loosely based on that skit.
Summer Rental was a good movie. Planes, Trains, Automobiles was a good movie. Great Outdoors is fantastic.
Uncle Buck.
I like Uncle Buck. Like I like John Candy, but he's not like my favorite.
Stripes.
He was excellent in Stripes.
Is amazing. Armed and Dangerous. He was really good in that.
And not on that list, which is a very underrated movie for him, was Who is Harry Crumb?
I was going to mention Who's Harry Crumb. I love that movie.
It's
such a stupid movie, but it's so fun.
But it's him. It's him in a nutshell.
Yeah.
No. Hey, Hasselhoff.
Hey, Hasselhoff. How's it going? Burger King mentioned the same thing. He came in with it right on the tail end as we did too.
Yep.
So yeah, those are great movies with him in it. He had a more hits than misses. I felt like over the course of his career, more hits than I think. I feel like Chris Farley had. Now, keep in mind, a lot of Chris Farley's movies have kind of grown on me, in past years. But Chris he didn't hit with me the same way that John Candy did when he was first a thing.
No, I think Chris Farley's thing was he was as good as the people around him. It's not that he could carry a movie by himself, but if you think about it, every movie that was a top-notch movie for him, whether it was Tommy Boy, Black Sheep, both of those had
David Spader.
He's a good counter.
Yes. Yeah. And Beverly Hills Ninja, which I think is his best movie.
I actually really like that movie.
That was Chris Rock and Robin Shaw, who had just come off of the first Mortal Kombat movie. So that had a dynamite cast around him. I'm not saying he's a bad actor. I think he's hilarious when he's doing his thing. But
he reminds me a lot of Melissa McCarthy. If she has the right supporting cast, she could be really funny. But if you need her to basically carry the boat, she doesn't.
No.
Yeah, I guess I see what you're saying. Like John Candy was, I guess, a comedian who could lead, kind of guide the path of the jokes, I guess. But Chris Farley was a reactor.
Yeah, Uncle Buck was that type of movie. Where and Harry Crumb, where John Candy was the center point of the movie.
I thought Uncle Buck was a bit better than Harry Crumb, and that's because Candy had time to kind of mellow down.
Yes.
a little bit and just deliver some normal, serious lines and deal with some real life stuff in that movie, because he had his own problems and his own worries and some like really just kind of heavy stuff that he had to deal with on his own while he was trying to play up and crazy with the kids and all that stuff. So I thought that was a much better balance.
Mm-hmm.
And what Seth was saying, I think a lot of the really good comedians can also turn around. Like Robin Williams, another one.
Robin Williams is heavily underrated as an actor.
Comedic energy very well, but then they could just as well just translate that to it. Like John Candy usually has some kind of very touching, sentimental, genuine moments in his movies, like the ending to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles specifically. Honestly, Steve Martin doesn't.
Spaceballs,
I
great
think
movie.
Steve Martin
Spaceballs. I forgot Spaceballs.
We just hadn't gotten to it.
Yeah. Cool Runnings was another.
I love that movie. That's an amazing movie.
To Rob's point, he was not the comedic part of that movie.
No,
he was not.
Right.
And he was fantastic. And Sperger brought up something else. I had totally forgotten he played a kid.
Yeah,
he played the kid that turned into the muscle guy in Heavy Metal.
Yeah, and
I have never seen Heavy
That was like
Metal.
one of the good ones too. That naked chick appears before him and goes, "She got really pretty eyes."
Oh man, he really was so good. I miss John Candy.
Okay,
I know we're bouncing around the different actors, but they're all kind of related to various holiday movies, guys.
Well, because Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was like the consummate Thanksgiving movie.
Right. No, I can totally see it. And that's really the only one I can think of for Thanksgiving off the top of my head.
That's the only one I can think of. I mean, other than well, it's a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. I mean, there was that.
I mean, maybe The Ref, but that's more Christmas than Thanksgiving. It just kind of happens to happen during the holiday. It doesn't really involve the holiday per se.
And sorry, I do not mean to be missing the chat. So quick.
You're fine, dude. I'm trying to keep an eye and bring up people's comments.
Sister Carla. I keep missing people. Mazin and Samich and Zombie and Scepter.
Garfield Thanksgiving. Crab makes a good point.
Garfield.
I hadn't thought about that one. I never get to see that one anymore. I never catch it. Same way with the Garfield Christmas. I love both of those. And
I watch the Garfield Christmas one every year on YouTube. The Garfield Thanksgiving one is.
I need to start doing that. That sounds like a great idea.
Which one?
That's the one where he brings, where John invites.
Thanksgiving.
What's her face? The vet over to. She finally convinces her to go over to his house for Thanksgiving dinner. Why they're both having Thanksgiving solo is not addressed, and then he's gonna blow it, and then his grandma comes and cooks dinner in like 5 minutes. That's the plot of the cartoon. Sorry if I spoiled anything, but it's not as good as the Christmas one. Is really good.
Yeah, the Christmas one's excellent. Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorites. I remember that one more than I do the Thanksgiving one. The same way for the Charlie Brown.
Like they did the Thanksgiving.
I remember Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown.
Grumpy
and
Old
I remember
Men.
Christmas, but I don't. Is Grumpy Old Men a Thanksgiving movie?
It is Thanksgiving.
I haven't seen a movie in ages. I think I saw both of those, but I haven't seen them.
I loved
like 20 years.
And see, that's another like two actors that could carry a movie by themselves, Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau, but together they were freaking dynamite. And it wasn't just Grumpy Old Men and Grumpy Old Men 2. What was the other movie? The Odd Couple was the other movie that they were in together, and it was amazing what they did.
See, I need to get physical copies or digital copies of these, because the Garfield holiday films, because I used to love Garfield as a kid. I had tons of those books. I must have had like 30 of those illustrated books, like the compilation books and stuff that he would do. I love those things.
Yeah, the Garfield Halloween has always been my favorite one. That was actually the only one that I was aware of as a kid.
That he's right. There was
second one focused on the pilgrims. Interesting.
I am just looking over. I did a search for Thanksgiving movies.
I was about to say Christmas movies. I can kind of swing with you on because there's tons of those I watch every year.
Yeah,
and one which kind of crosses back and forth because I usually watch Nightmare Before Christmas. I usually watch it around Halloween, but it fits just as well during Christmas.
So since we like to debate points, is it a Thanksgiving movie if anywhere in the movie there is something about Thanksgiving? And the reason I ask is because I'm looking at a list, and on this list from CNET of all places is Rocky, because Rocky has a Thanksgiving scene in it. We
call Die Hard a Christmas movie. Can we just call Rocky a Thanksgiving movie?
Well, if we do that, we have to call Spider-Man a Thanksgiving movie because remember that whole scene at Thanksgiving.
You're not twisting my arm in a way that it hurts at this point. That's not a hard sell for me.
Well, I'm just making sure if we're setting the so.
Well, I mean, do we define that? Like, how do and I know people love to get us wound into this, but do we kind of want to set some ground rules on this? Because I always considered Die Hard a Christmas movie because there's a lot of Christmas elements to it. He's basically trying to like reconnect with his family. He happens to be there. All the stuff goes down. It's during a Christmas party. There's tons of Christmas imagery around, and the takeaways that he gets to go home to his family and be with his family around Christmas, even though it doesn't necessarily talk and focus around the holiday. It has a lot of elements that I think bring into a Christmas movie. So how do you define a Thanksgiving movie? Is it about like Earth and Home? Is it about the actual day of Thanksgiving? Is it about the buildup? Is it about like family togetherness, or how do you define that?
That's a hard question because again, you can definitely open that up to a ton of movies that you didn't think of.
Right. Because I never really thought about classifying things as a Thanksgiving movie. I didn't even really think about it until this year, until somebody said, well, if you should always watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles around Thanksgiving. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, he kind of doesn't have anywhere to go for that holiday, and he doesn't have a family, and it's about him being lonely and wanting a family. At the end, he kind of gets to spend time with Steve Martin and his family. Sorry if I did spoilers on the movie, but the movie's like 35 years old.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it by now. And at the same time, Steve Martin is trying, or, not Dell, but what was his, Neil was his name in the movie, right?
Sonic City is a Christmas movie.
Neil. Yeah, his name was Neil because John Candy's name was Dell Griffith.
See, I almost put Neil 8 Crazy Nights on our thumbnail, but I wasn't sure because I wasn't sure how you felt about 8 Crazy Nights, but it's only on like a movie I know of.
Well, okay. So here's the crazy thing about Hanukkah movies. They are few and far between.
Yeah, I sort of figured that.
Unless you are looking at things like Sesame Street and Rugrats, the Hanukkah movies that are out there are very adult based. Let me put it this way. 8 Crazy Nights is a great movie. An Adam Sandler movie. It's based on his characters. It's based on but it is not a see it, Crab.
They're Crab.
It's not a kid-friendly movie. Now,
what 8 Crazy Nights isn't?
It's not kid-friendly.
It just seems like an animated. I haven't seen it, but it seems like what I've seen seems like an animated Adam Sandler movie.
But it's like a goofy animated PG-13 Adam Sandler movie. I'm not saying that there's no language in it, but there are some things that I wouldn't let my 8-year-old watch. Okay. Now, if I'm going to do that, if I want to give him something for Hanukkah to watch on Hanukkah, I'm going to let him watch An American Tail. Jim, what's up, Jim? An American Tail.
American Tail is a Hanukkah film?
It actually opens on the first night of Hanukkah. Yep.
I never placed it there. That's a great movie.
Yeah.
That's an amazing film.
It is an amazing film. So there's that. There is the other one that is definitely not kid friendly. Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
I've never sat down and watched that. Yeah. I probably should now.
Again, Spurger's right. Great movie, but not for kids. The other movie that is hilarious and absolutely not for kids is called The Hebrew Hammer. And if anybody hasn't seen that, look it up.
I think I've heard you talk about this.
Remember you and Zombie were talking about these Hanukkah-themed horror movies last year.
This wasn't a horror movie. It's not a horror movie. It's
like a revenge movie or something.
It's a
right?
It's a Jewsploitation film.
Okay. Not sure how I feel about that.
I'm not sure how to translate that into anything useful in my brain.
All right. So here's the main plot. The Hebrew Hammer, who is like not a superhero, but he's kind of like the cool Jewish spy guy. Same as Mordecai. He has to save Hanukkah from...
Hey, Spook. Good to see you, man. I haven't seen you in ages. Hey,
Spook. From Damien Claus, who is the evil son of Santa Claus, who is played by Andy Dick, who wants to wipe out, in his words, Hanukkah.
This just sounds like Andy Dick being Andy Dick, actually.
But it's not. But it's more than it is. But it is more than just Andy Dick's movie. This is it is hard to describe, but it is freaking hilarious. So
I have. What's funny is I've never seen this, and I think most of my when I think about all my close friends that I've had in the last 10 years, like real life friends in this area, they've all pretty much all been Jewish. So I'm shocked I've not seen this film.
Yeah, because again, it's not something. It's also not like a major motion picture. And again, there are a lot of movies out there if you find them, but none of them are like movies that you would even know.
Yeah, none of them really go mainstream. It always appears to be like Christmas. Like you don't really see anything about Kwanzaa. Like I don't really know that much about Kwanzaa either. I've done a little digging here and there, but there's really nothing that I see about that either. I was gonna put something in for Hanukkah if I could think of it, but that was like the only one I could think of.
And it really is
because I knew you were Jewish, and I'm like I should put something in here that represents Hanukkah, but I can't think of anything.
It's not easy. It really isn't.
Drop a menorah in there, and
there's that. I could have just dropped a menorah in there.
Or I don't know. I always liked Friends. Always had a really good Thanksgiving, and then they also because a lot of the cast or at least the writing staff were Jewish. So they did
the same way.
They did try to kind of mix in a lot of the Hanukkah stuff a little bit, not really as much as they.
Yeah, I mean, Disney
like they should have, but
Disney had a movie that was like a streaming movie called like something like Full Court Miracles about a Jewish basketball team that gets, like a Hanukkah miracle, and it can, there's another one that's out there. It came out in 2012. It was called All I Want for Christmas. And it was about a kid kind of like me, surrounded by Christmas everywhere, but my family's Jewish, and it's hard to in the need to compete, right? So it's difficult.
Hanukkah's in a weird spot because it kind of starts right around the tail end of like Thanksgiving, and it goes through a lot of the Christmas season where everybody's ramping into Christmas, and it has a hard time finding its place in the greater community that gets wrapped up in these other holidays.
Well, it's not necessarily that. It is because like this year Hanukkah starts on the night of the 18th, so it goes 8 days, so 18, 19. So figure 1920.
So it ends on what, the 27th?
27th. So it goes right through Christmas. Sometimes it is right near Christmas. There was one time, and it'll come around again in like 7,000 more years when it actually was on Thanksgiving. That's the earliest it's ever been.
That's a little easier to manage, because then you can have like one big meal like right around that time and kind of do it more of a Passover style meal, right?
Well, Hanukkah doesn't have.
I know they're different holidays, but you can serve similar dishes.
Hanukkah is more about making like donuts and potato pancakes and stuff like that. But the other issue that I always have, which is very, very hard, is musically. There are nobody plays Hanukkah songs during this time, and you can find Christmas music even. So I have like XM, and you can find Christmas music on 17 different channels.
Yeah, but finding Hanukkah music is
so tough. They light up a channel called Radio Hanukkah, and it's only on during Hanukkah, not the rest of the year. And on no public radio station will they play. And I could understand like 30, 40, 50 years ago. And Scepter is right. I'll say that in a second.
And I believe also a lot of Christmas movies too. Go ahead.
Yes. 50, 60 years ago, when all the Hanukkah songs were in Hebrew and they were very traditional. Yes, I get it. But there is so much contemporary and pop Hanukkah music out there that is all in English, that is easy to listen to. Some of it, there are a cappella groups out there that have taken, mainstream songs and done Hanukkah songs on them, and they're fantastic. And none of that gets played. It's like it literally, December becomes Jews to the back of the bus month. I mean, that's how we look at it. And it's very difficult. It's very difficult for my kids. That's why we go all out with decorating. We put the inflatables up in the front of the yard. We'll put stuff on the windows, and we will make Hanukkah. What's up, Omega? You guys, I love you guys. Seriously, you, Mazen, Sam, you guys make me blush. But we go all out here because the kids. And
well, I mean, that's your culture too. Why not celebrate it, right?
Now, if Mariah Carey were to sing a Hanukkah movie, then maybe we can make it more.
Yeah, so you get Mariah Carey on your side. There you go.
There you go, Mariah Carey. So, and so Scepter is right. Jews wrote all the best. Irving Berlin wrote a ton of things that people don't understand in American culture, but Irving Berlin wrote a lot of Christmas music. And I actually, something I teach in Sunday school.
Mega's cracking me up.
Meg is awesome. Wonderful, not Wonderful Christmas Time. That was Paul McCartney is not Jewish. Yeah, Paul McCartney is not Jewish, but like the Christmas song. White Christmas is Irving Berlin. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. That's Irving Berlin. That's so. Yeah.
I was hoping you wouldn't say "Baby, It's Cold Outside." It's a very rapey Christmas song.
It's
a very rapey Christmas song.
It did very well.
Yeah, but a classic. You got to remember, it was a classic back then. I'm walking into what sounds like a business opportunity for
Hanukkah. Why is there? And that's a very good question, Big Block. I mean, these are as we like all claim to kind of get more inclusive and diverse in culture on it. One of the cultures that constantly gets overlooked because it gets just get lumped in as white Jewish culture, right? It gets overridden a lot of times, and it's not a color distinction; it's a culture distinction.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to make and to take account of this time of year.
We never really complain about it. Like,
no, you don't. But I mean, I've never met a Jewish person who did, but it's always kind of there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We don't have a month. We don't have a Jewish History Month. We don't have parades. We don't have any of that stuff. And really, nobody pays attention to us in December. But it's nothing. It's also nothing new.
I see you, Mike. We'll get you a Christmas tree. It's just me being a jerk.
or I love this one. Well, what? Don't you got kids? You guys have like a Hanukkah bush? Yes, thank you. And we'll light it on fire. It'll be the Hanukkah burning bush.
That was the first thing I was going to say. You can get 7 of them and light them on fire.
That's right. So, now, Scepter did say, I guess you could watch the 10 Commandments. That's Passover. But it's all good. It's all good. I do love holiday movies. So, here's what's great. One of my pleasures, guilty pleasures of this season is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Mm-hmm. That's
one of the greatest.
One of the greatest.
I love that movie. That's like my favorite
Christmas movies ever created.
That one resonates to me more and more the older I get. Right? I loved it as a kid. I love it more as an adult because going through, doing the decorating, trying to get the wrapping done, trying to deal with this family or that family, or just friends that basically have become family, right? Because like I've got a couple of friends out here that basically I'm sort of adopted into the Jewish family at this point. Like, anytime a buddy of mine's mom calls and talks to him, she's like, "Tell my other son Nick hi," and I'm like, so I've kind of been adopted, right? Because I've taken care of her kid from time to time when he's gotten sick or injured or hurt or whatever. Like he was part of my own family. I've done that to both him and his cousin. So I've sort of been adopted into the culture without being officially adopted. So there's a lot of that goes around, right? So, they're sort of like, brothers from another mother, quite literally, right? That come over that I deal with their weird quirks and weird shit that they do around the holidays, because people are weird.
Now, I do have a question for you that I've been wondering probably for about a month now, and you guys can probably help me out. There is a Christmas movie, and I don't know. I feel like it's Scrooged, but the movie actually opens up with a fake movie that ends up being a Christmas themed action movie where
Scrooged.
Yeah.
Is it Scrooged? Okay.
It's absolutely Scrooged. It's not that the movie is that. It's a live show they're trying to do, but the advertisement he's doing to try to sell it is like this action movie with all these like scenes and stuff like that where he's trying to get a reaction from people, and he gave one poor old lady a heart attack with his trailer.
See, I've seen Scrooge a bunch of times, so I remember all the awful, like the acid rain. You watch this, you'll be scared not to. But this was actually an actual action movie inside the movie, where it was like terrorists invade the North Pole, and then some action movie star comes and helps Santa fight off terrorists. Help me out. What movie was that?
Fred Claus. Is that Fred Claus?
Remember this is a fake movie that opens up a real
like
movie.
A trailer for another movie in there, and I think that might have also been in Scrooge because it was the $1 Million Man that comes in to like save Santa and stuff like that.
It was not like Chuck Norris, but it was that level of action movie star.
Yeah, and I think that was just an advertisement for another movie. I don't think that was an actual movie, though.
I know that's what I'm saying. It opens up with a fake movie inside a real movie. But what cracks me up though is that they've made that a real movie. So there's that movie with there's a movie coming out, and it's got the actor who's Hopper from Stranger Things.
Violent Christmas or whatever it's called.
Oh, yes. That's the first thing I thought of. That they made the fake Christmas action movie.
Doesn't that have
It's got fucking John
Leguizamo. Christmas. I remember that from Family Guy.
Right, but it also has the guy who was Red. What's his face in Black Widow?
Yeah, that's the same guy. It's the same guy.
Yeah, I forget his act. It's Dave.
Yeah, I can never remember his name either. He's great.
Dave Harbour.
Pretty much everything I've seen.
David Harbour. David Harbour.
Yes. Okay. So he's Santa Claus.
So this is for.
It took me seeing that trailer like twice on YouTube before I put that together. I'm like, that guy's voice sounds from. Oh my god, it's him.
All right. So this is for Zombie. So Zombie asked this question. You guys all know there's Elf on the Shelf, right?
Yeah, there's Bench on a Bench as well.
Bench on a Bench.
Yeah, I've seen Bench on a Bench.
Yes, this is it, Zombie. It's and the bench.
Yeah, and don't you put him in random locations during Hanukkah?
You just put him in different spots all around.
Yeah. It's the same way with like Elf on the Shelf. He just appears in different locations randomly. You move him as he falls over onto the floor.
He's had a little too much medicine.
He had a little bit too much to drink. Guys, to the Kiss Copter. Kiss saves Christmas for Family Guy. Yeah. That's great. Someone kidnapped Santa? That does not rock. Oh, such a goofy segment. I love it.
Yes.
Oh.
I'm going to print
by
up
the way,
this year, though.
If I've said it once, I haven't said it enough. It's very good to see you around again, man. I'm glad things are kind of doing a little bit better for you. I've tried to kind of comment on a couple of things that you've done on Twitter here and there, but it's very good to see you around again. By the way, it's better than Kiss Meets the Phantom. I could Kiss. So we've done a little bit on Thanksgiving movies. I don't know that we ever clearly defined it per se. I think we all kind of know what we look for in a Christmas movie because it's that to me is again about family or about kind of learning a lesson about family or being with family. Kind of the spirit of like giving in the holiday and obviously Christmas imagery if Santa's in there, that's kind of a bonus, that kind of thing. Sometimes they get a little too commercialized, even with their messaging, but most of the ones that I go back and I enjoy the most are the ones that kind of come back and wrap into some more meaningful message rather than just sticking to the commercialism of the holiday.
Which is what I love the most about Jingle All the Way. Because they completely make fun of that whole
They do. It spends a lot of time focusing on it and then wraps it up very nicely at the end.
Yep.
I love that movie. That's a really underrated Christmas movie.
As much as people
Justy,
think that is a Schwarzenegger movie, Sinbad holds his own in that movie.
He really does. He does a really good job in that. I've never actually watched Harold and Kumar Big Christmas. I need to watch that this year. It's on HBO Max. There's been a couple movies that I've watched. One that is almost more sad than it is Christmassy, and that's Jack Frost. I think that one's really underrated too.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's a really good. It's really sad through a lot of it, but it's got a really good message in it, and I really enjoy that one. Arthur Christmas is a newer one that's kind of become like one of the ones I like to go back and watch each year. That one's another kind of underrated one. Ron Howard's The Grinch. Definitely hardcore lays into the materialism. I love that one. I think Jim Carrey's brilliant in that movie. I
am going to check out, since Justy brought it up, I'm going to check out this Love Lights Hanukkah movie. It's a Hallmark.
Oh, God help you. Hallmark movies are like the weirdest thing this time of year.
Oh, I thoroughly expect someone in this movie will cry. But
there's going to be the rich guy who turns out to be the terrible guy and, is like super ugly or something. And then there's the hot poor guy in the small town kind of thing. And this is just standard Hallmark movie formula.
This got Mia Kirshner and Mary Lou Henner in it. So it says, as Christina prepares her restaurant for the busiest time of the year, she gets her DNA test revealing that she's Jewish. The discovery leads her to a new family and an unlikely romance over 8 nights.
I've never heard of that one. But then I skip a lot of the Hallmark movies. Some of those get pretty bad. No, not all the Hallmark movies are bad. I found more of them are bad than good, which is kind of why I usually shy away from them as a rule. Like,
there's
God, what was the one with Danny DeVito and what's his name from Ferris Bueller's Day Off? That one was awful. Yeah, Matthew Broderick. They started in like a Hallmark movie where they're competing like on who can decorate their house and everything else the best during the holidays, and it's just like a terrible example of anyone during the holidays.
Speaking of a Christmas movie that doesn't really get a whole lot of recognition that I always loved, and I should actually own it so I could add it into my yearly rotation. But a movie with Nicolas Cage called Trapped in Paradise. It has Dana Carvey.
I haven't heard of that one.
Oh my God.
It's really good. Well, it's a really good sea-level movie.
Yeah.
And all three of those guys are hilarious in it, but they're bank robbers that go to this very, very, very nice, polite small town to rob the bank. And everyone's just so nice there that through comedy of errors, they just end up getting stuck there. Every time they try to leave, like their tire breaks down, so someone gives them a lift back to town, and it just
it's like the Amityville Horror, but nicely.
It's worth watching because those three guys are very funny, especially Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage can be really good comedically when he wants to be.
This is when he leans into his
crazy and it becomes comedic.
Yeah.
For Christmases, I need to watch more.
Trapped in Paradise.
I think I've seen that once. Christmas with the Cranks is another one that I've enjoyed. That's a more modern one. They decide to like completely skip Christmas because their daughter's like gone completely out of the country, and so they're cutting everything out of Christmas. Like they're not buying like any of the wreaths or doing any of the normal like donations or anything like that. Because if they don't do all that, he runs the numbers and they can go to Hawaii for Christmas. And that absolutely, as you would predict, backfires in the worst possible way because his daughter comes back into town. And so everybody has to kind of like rally around to make, the holiday for her. Right. So it kind of becomes like, skipping out on the holidays isn't necessarily the right thing to do. Traditions are traditions for a reason, and you should enjoy the time you have with like, family and friends, regardless of who's around, that kind of thing. Right. So I like that one kind of for the message, even though there's been a lot of it being kind of terrible people.
Yeah, it's kind of a shit. Like everyone's crappy in the movie. I didn't like it very much. I thought it was like
it's one of those. It's kind of more of an acquired taste, kind of like everybody had mentioned Christmas Story, and that's one of those that I'm kind of on a lot of times. It's never been one of my absolute favorites. I've seen it once or twice. It's kind of entertaining. Their humor doesn't resonate with me as well as others. It might have resonated with me more had I seen it before I saw National Lampoons. But everything it tries to do, I feel like National Lampoons does so much better that I'd rather watch National Lampoons.
Whatever.
Not that there's anything wrong with Christmas Story. It's neat. I like the fact that Adam West doing the narration on the first one and everything like that. I like a lot of the messaging in it and the family messaging and all that other stuff, all the crazy stuff that just goes on, but I think it's one of those, if you didn't see it when you were younger, you didn't necessarily grow up with it, it's a little harder to relate to. And I didn't grow up watching A Christmas Story, right? I grew up watching stuff like National Lampoons. I do kind of want to see the second one because I heard it was really, really good. And I've been trying to get my wife to sit down and watch it because she loves the first one. And I'm like, we should sit down together and watch this new one on HBO Max, right? Because I heard nothing but good things about it from people who are fans. So I'm trying to get her to sit down and watch it.
Another good movie that doesn't get thought about. It gets kind of lost in the sea of those movies, even though it's such a good classic. Gremlins.
Gremlins is a great movie.
It is a Christmas movie. It is an absolute.
It is. I put it on the thumbnail for a reason, because I normally put it in. It's one of those I kind of put in Halloween and Christmas, right? Because it's a horror movie, not a super scary horror movie, but a horror movie. But it takes place all around Christmas, and it's
Yeah.
all about him getting Gizmo as a gift for Christmas.
Yep.
So he has a new pet for Christmas, and like all the craziness that ensues, right? Yep. And I just cannot. I can't sit here and not laugh just thinking about the Gremlins singing carols outside that lady's house. It just cracked me up every time. And see, yeah, Tommy's like, Gremlins is my favorite. So much mayhem, and yeah, that's kind of why. It's kind of why I like the second movie a little bit better than the first one, because the first one is a better horror movie, but they play up the zaniness and craziness of the Gremlins so much more in the second movie that I actually like the second movie a little bit better. Personally,
I didn't like it.
I loved how they leaned into it, dude.
I thought that they leaned into it way too much.
I think that was the idea. I think it was like his way of sticking the middle finger up to the studio who wanted him to make a sequel to a movie he didn't want to make a sequel to.
Right.
So he basically just said, "Fine, I'm going to take that bars thing from the first movie. That's going to be the whole movie."
Yeah. No. I understand that, but I didn't.
No. See, Tommy agrees with me. He likes the second one a little bit better too, and it just depends on what you're into, right? I don't get me wrong. There no shade on the first one. I love the first movie. It is a just absolute classic, right? I put it right up there with like Goonies and like Ghostbusters and movies like that. Those are just iconic movies. If you're gonna look at like 80s movies, those are movies you look at, right? It's just one of those films.
Right. Scepter brings up Lethal Weapon. Also,
you know what? I call that a Christmas movie. The whole thing takes place around Christmas. The problem that I have with it being a Christmas movie is it doesn't really do much about the message or family around the holidays. It just happens to be a buddy cop movie set around Christmas.
So if you are going, so here we go. So setting the guidelines, and this is a good question for you guys, and I think both of you probably have seen this movie, I hope. If being around Christmas is good enough, what about a movie like Trading Places, which is one of my all-time top 10 movies? Like, I can watch that movie.
Trading Places is a phenomenal movie. I'm trying to think if I call it a Christmas movie. In a way, you can, because it takes place during the holiday. They all kind of fun, like friendship and like love and companionship.
Dan
and family.
Dan Aykroyd drunk Santa at the Christmas party.
Yeah, God, he eats part of his beer when he picks up that piece of salmon. Oh my God, he's so hammered.
So I mean, that's why I ask. I mean, obviously there are movies that are dead on. You know, the Santa Claus is
yes, we did, Jim.
Christmas music, yes.
Oh yeah, Santa Claus 1 and 2. I love those movies. I think those are great Tim Allen movies, and those are not even questionable Christmas movies. Like you can't even say they're not.
Right.
And Zombies with You, and I'm willing to kind of go there with that one too. Trading Places is a Christmas movie, sure. I can get with that. I never really sat down and thought about it that way, but yeah, you can absolutely call that a Christmas movie. And that's just a great movie to watch any time of year.
Anytime.
That's a phenomenal movie.
It is one of the best. That is what harkens me to. We were talking earlier about that whole SNL time period in the 80s.
Bad Santa, Scepter.
Bad Santa. Yep. Another one where the first to me the first one was awesome and the second one just didn't.
I don't think I ever sat down and watched it.
The first one or the second one?
Either. I don't think I saw either one of them.
Bad Santa is a good movie. It's not it again. So think of. I was
never huge on Billy Bob Thornton on the whole, and the premise looked a little rough. So I'm like,
it is.
I don't know.
Think of it in that same vein of the Hebrew Hammer.
Santa with Muscles is a Christmas movie with Hulk Hogan. I didn't even know Hulk Hogan was in a Christmas movie. I knew he did like a series of Christmas movies he did a series of movies for a while, but never really did real well in any of them. Santa with Muscles. I need to see that now. I need to see it just for the title. Pretty great. I love it.
Let's see what else we got in here. I'm looking down a list to see if
Home Alone is another.
Yeah, Home Alone.
Those are iconic.
Yes.
At least the first two. I checked out after like the second one because I think they changed from Macaulay Culkin to like anyone else.
Oh, who was the? Yeah, Home Alone 3 had a different. Right?
They've all had different kids since 3.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of stepped out on it. I'm trying to think of all the rest ones that I watched. Christmas Story, Jingle All the Way, we've mentioned. We've talked about Arthur. Oh, one I just watched today. And this is one that maybe a lot of people miss because it's Netflix, but there's a couple of them on Netflix. Claus has David Spade in it. And it's kind of an animated Christmas movie about kind of a imagining of the coming of Santa Claus as a character. It's a really good movie. It's got J.K. Simmons as Santa Claus. And then Christmas Chronicles with Kurt Russell. I like both of those. Those are both fun. The first one's better than the second one, but they're fun.
Again. That's one we watch every year. And it's on par with Gremlins to the point where if they ever do a Gremlins third movie, which they should.
I heard they were even doing a third one or a reboot.
They've been saying that for like years. But if they do, they should get the guy who did Krampus and Trick or Treat to do it. I think
I need to sit down and watch Krampus. You guys have mentioned Krampus multiple times now, I feel like. And I have never sat down to watch Krampus.
Another movie that, and I watched this growing up, and this was a huge this was the ultimate family movie, and it had a nobody remember. Do you guys remember actually Santa Claus the movie?
Yeah, I do. It's with John Lithgow. A brilliant John Lithgow character.
Yes,
and he dies a horrible death.
I never sat down and watched that one.
And Dudley Moore as an elf, and I never realized until later on who played Santa. His name was David Huddleston, and later on in life, I watched Blazing Saddles. And he was one of the townspeople. He was in the town of Rockridge in Blazing Saddles. And I watched that. I'm like,
I was going to say, David Huddleston sounds very familiar.
It's Santa Claus. And that's how I put those two together. He was also in The Producers, and he was in The
Producers was a good movie. I heard the Broadway play was way better.
Oh, it was. It absolutely was. But Matthew Broderick and Broderick and Nathan Lane did a great job. But my favorite, I know we're getting off track, but my favorite version of The Producers will always be Zero Mostel and Gene Wilder.
Sorry. You had me at Gene Wilder because I love Gene Wilder.
Yeah, that was my best. So anyway, the Santa Claus the movie was amazing, and at the time, it was very it was an 80s movie.
It was a very big budget movie for what it was,
and it had unbelievable not CGI, but I mean the special effects were great. The flying reindeer were, I mean.
It was. I watched it a lot when I was a kid. There's something kind of creepy about it, though. It's
really.
Like those old 60s and 70s Santa Claus movies with the talking mouth. That I forget even what these movies are called, but they're just trash Roger Corman Santa Claus movies, where it's like Santa Claus versus the aliens or something like that. But it had that same kind of tone. It creeped me out. I liked it all right. But there's something weird about it that was just it seemed very. I bet it was actually European. I guarantee there was either a European writer or a director. I bet if we looked at that, that's probably what it was. Like this.
Do you know who? So. And this is why there were so many of those flying effects. You know who produced that movie, right?
I do not.
That was the Salkinds. Alexander and Ilias Allkind. Superman.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that
So I had seen a documentary on Santa Claus the movie, and they took a lot of the sleigh effects from Christopher Reeve's Superman design, and how they got him to fly against.
Was that done around the same time period?
No. Superman was 79. Santa Claus was mid-80s. So they had I mean, they've obviously got a little more in the technology.
That would explain why it would look kind of rough if you used kind of the same technique. Because, I mean, while that worked great for Christopher Reeves at the time, and it still holds up, it wouldn't hold up by like mid-80s standards of how they were doing things.
No, and they wanted to make it look authentic without using a lot of CGI.
Yeah. Now, there's a couple of them to mention in the chat, a lot of them by Jan, and there's a couple that I thought of too. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the stop-motion animation one. How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the animated one, the original cartoon.
I like the animated one more than the Jim Carrey one.
The Benedict Cumberbatch one, I didn't care for that one as much. I thought it was kind of meh.
The Benedict.
He wasn't. I guess the main thing is that he was not very grumpy in it. Like he was just kind of a little.
He was more just sad and lonely. He wasn't really.
They made him a little too nice in the very beginning.
Yes,
so that he didn't really have a transformation. He just like, okay, I guess I'll just let everyone know that I'm nice.
Right,
but I think
it didn't resonate the same way.
His David Hayter impression was, or Bill Hader impression was fantastic. Though I thought that's who it was that was voicing the Grinch.
Yeah, no, it took me a little bit to realize it was him.
Like I had to watch the credits to realize that it wasn't Bill Hader the entire time. I just assumed it was.
Yeah. Frosty the Snowman, that cartoon, that's another one that's really good.
We watched that a lot.
There's a couple of newer ones, and I know a lot of people swear by the original, but the 1994 Miracle on 34th Street, I love that movie.
I would just talk about that with the wife recently. I can't stand the little girl in that movie. I think she's
the girl who played Matilda or whatever.
Needed a good slap, and the mom was a real bitch too. However, I really like that Santa Claus and what the actor
Richard Attenborough.
No. The actor who played the male love, the dreamy love interest.
Oh yeah. That's
Dylan McDermott.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like those two better than their counterparts from the original movie. But the two female leads kind of break that movie for me.
No, because I don't like.
I still really enjoy it, and I think it really is Richard Attenborough. He brings such
Santa Claus is better. I think
he's so fun to watch. Like every moment he's on screen on the movie, he's having a good time. And it's just such a joy to watch him act in that film. Another one that's more recent, and we can't not mention it because it's a gaming podcast.
We'll get to it later.
8-Bit Christmas.
Which one?
8-Bit Christmas.
Oh yeah, I've never seen that, but I've heard about it.
It just came out last year. It became kind of an instant favorite of mine.
Yeah, I heard about it, but never saw it.
Yeah, it's just all about this kid just desperately trying to get a Nintendo for Christmas and just doing anything and everything he can to get it, only to learn a totally different lesson by the end of it. And it's fantastic. It's absolutely a modern day classic.
So there's also
Scrooge, Scrooge Christmas Story. There's a bunch of different Scrooge Muppets Christmas Carol, which Jan mentioned and Zombie mentioned. Muppet Christmas Carol's fantastic.
So if we're going Muppets, you guys, some of you older folks are not going to remember this, or younger folks are not even going to know this. Some of you older folks that had HBO might remember this. I could never find it again. Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas.
I don't think I
ever saw
that
Emmett
one.
Otter. Oh my goodness!
I don't think I ever got to see that one.
Mickey
Christmas Carol's another one that's phenomenal. There was another Christmas Carol with Jim Carrey. It was an animated one. I thought that was pretty good too. Didn't hold up quite as well as some of the others I've seen.
I do not like who's the director? Robert Zemeckis? He's the one that did.
Is the same guy that did Polar Express?
Yeah.
Polar Express I thought was so. It wasn't bad. It doesn't resonate with me as much as it does other people. For some people, that is the Christmas movie.
My 8-year-old loves it.
It's unsettling
Polar
for me.
Yeah.
Like all of his movies, just creepy as fuck.
Charlie Brown Christmas. I think we mentioned Charlie Brown Christmas a little earlier, Jam, but that's always a stand-up movie.
But we just go back to something that Scepter Sever, and this has been in my mind too. I think it's Will Vinter's Claymation Christmas. Yes. I always loved that as a kid, and I can only find little clips of it on YouTube. I look for it every year. But I'd love to actually buy that movie on DVD. I think occasionally it comes out on sale. It's not a movie; it's a TV show. But it's the animation studio behind the California Raisins. And
okay.
I didn't even know they had a claymation one like that. I've seen the very, very old, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer one.
Yeah, this is actual claymation. Yeah.
I
like that.
I don't think I've seen the claymation one.
See the Island of Misfit Toys. That was a great.
It's a good movie, man. The Island of Misfit Toys was fantastic.
That was.
There was a lot of really good messaging for a very short kids movie, and honestly, it's kind of stuff that I think is missing from a lot of like kids material today. Because if you watch a lot of it's just kind of like happy-go-lucky messaging. But like freaking Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer had a lot of stuff about accepting yourself and finding camaraderie with each other and stuff like that, especially on the Island of Misfit Toys, right? Because you had a lot of toys and things like that were just, completely out there, complete outcasts, but getting along and finding acceptance among each other and stuff like that. And messages like that don't get pushed enough, I don't think, anymore. Kind of like, I know we've mentioned it before, but the X-Men cartoon did that too. It treated kids like people who were one day going to be adults, and they needed to be exposed to this kind of topic because they needed to understand it. They needed to learn how to process it and how to deal with it in a safe environment.
This is off the Christmas topic, but this is like I was actually watching I was reading through a conversation on Twitter today about someone who was basically trashing Miss Doubtfire because, in his words, it was a movie aimed at kids, but it dealt with really heavy issues about it focused so much on divorce and the kids being unhappy about it. That's what kids were like back in the day. So that was like, right. We could take that kind of stuff. And it was really good. So it's really good when kids programming's had the respect for their audience to actually give a silly package for a very serious message that kids can actually relate to.
You have to find a way to present it to them so that they can see the topic, understand it, and process it without it being as terrifying. What's wrong with that?
Right.
I don't.
And they did
I think from his perspective is that kids movies should be kids movies. That's all they should be. They should just be.
Mrs. Doubtfire was not a kids movie, though.
But it wasn't
because you have to at some point help kids grow up.
But I don't consider I don't think of Mrs. Doubtfire as a kids movie, though.
Neither do I. It's a family.
I don't
movie,
either. So. But I mean, you could sit down
and watch it with
kids.
Flawed.
Yeah, I mean,
but even if it was
a teen movie.
But even if it was, though, I mean, kids go through their parents' divorce and they struggle with it, and it's nice when the kids programming can actually, I guess, validate the confusion and the trauma that kids just don't know how to express.
To your point, Disney made a movie called The Parent Trap that dealt exactly with that.
Yeah,
it was almost like a cross between. It was more of a Home Alone movie. They tormented their parents, though, right? But they wanted to get them together.
Right.
Yeah,
were they trying to break them up or get them together?
No, they were trying to bring them back together.
Okay.
No.
Adventure Island needs a Christmas special.
How come nobody in the chat who I would have expected has brought up anything to do with South Park? Nobody has brought. I am disappointed in you, chat. Especially like the
howdy ho.
Someone actually brought up Mr. Hanky earlier.
Mr. Hanky, but there was a whole they did the whole Black Friday trilogy.
They did, and they also did a struggle being Jewish during Christmas.
Yes,
and that's how I learned the dreidel song.
Yes, and in fact, I have that DVD of the dreidel song, A Jew at Christmas, but the
Jew on Christmas. Is that the Jewish?
Yeah.
Yes, and the Black Friday trilogy has a whole gaming thing because the kids wanted to get the Dreamcast for Christmas. They were trying to get the new. Well, I can't remember if that was the Dreamcast episode or if that was the Super Okama Game Sphere.
Honestly, I think they were a war between like an Xbox and a PlayStation.
Maybe that was. Oh, right. Xbox was better. PlayStation was better.
Right, and one of them was stuck in the middle because he liked one better than the other, but his friends were getting it, and so it was a whole thing. And they played up a whole.
Yes. They did a whole medieval thing with Princess
Game of Thrones spin on it.
Princess Kenny.
Yeah. Xbox One versus PS4. That's what it was.
Yep, that's what it was. But they did a whole thing on that, and that was insanely hilarious. Okay, Dreamcast was the Tooth Fairy episode. That's right.
Yeah, and they did. Comic Games Fair was one of them. Like they had at a Comic Games Fair one. That was another one that they did.
That was
Games Fair was with Tally.
Yes.
They've covered a lot of them. Yeah, that South Park: The Stick of Truth was based off of a series of episodes as well.
Yes, it was. So I mean, but there were some and of course, don't forget that how South Park became was the animated short that come on.
Oh yeah, Matt and Trey Parker did as a Christmas card. I forgot about that.
Jesus versus Santa.
Satan Claus or something like that.
No, it was Jesus versus Santa.
Oh,
and
they were in the ring.
And they were battling it out for
They did a full episode on that later.
They brought it back because it was that, but that was the test reel, so to speak, that got Comedy Central to say, okay, we want this as a show.
That. Here's one I did not think of as a Christmas movie, but it absolutely is. Hook.
Is it?
The whole thing takes place around Christmas when they go to visit his family in Europe around Christmas, and he's completely focused on work and not on his family during the holidays. Goes into Neverland, realizes he's Peter Pan, and comes back and makes amends with his family, and they have like a wonderful holiday after that. I didn't even put that together until I saw it here because I was looking through a list of them and I'm like, what? Wait, huh? You know what? That kind of works. The more I thought about it, the more it kind of works.
Huh. You know what else then? Oh my God. You talk about, I didn't think about this. What about Batman Returns?
A lot of people mention Batman Returns.
I apologize, chat. I am.
And I think a few people, I Zombie always mentions that one. Like he's always talking about that one around this time of year. So I would not be surprised if he mentioned that several times and I just forgot to pull up the comment. Batman Returns is not my favorite Batman film. The reason I didn't like it is because I didn't like, and it's not Danny DeVito's fault. I didn't like the portrayal of Penguin in the movie, and he happened to be playing Penguin. I thought it was too skeezy and lowbrow for Penguin. That was supposed to be a more bubbly, kind of fun, playful character for Batman, who's supposed to be a more playful rogues gallery.
Because people were so used to Burgess Meredith.
Yeah, and they made him too dark and too I mean, Michelle Pfeiffer was amazing in it. Michael Keaton was amazing in it. But Danny DeVito and
of course,
Christopher Walken to a
Christopher
point kind of
Walken.
threw the balance off a little bit for me.
Yeah,
Really?
they had that was the start of their Too Many Bad Guys.
Yeah, it absolutely was.
I think they probably, honestly, they didn't really do a whole lot with the Penguins, so I think Max Schreck and Catwoman would have been just fine.
Yeah. All right, so which Batman movie was your favorite?
I think at least out of the original one with Michael Keaton probably still holds up as my absolute favorite.
Okay, fair.
I like a lot of the Christian Bale ones when they redid it with him. I thought those were really good.
I'm going to my hot take.
Batman and Robin, aren't you?
Nope. No, not that trash. I actually enjoyed Batman Forever.
I like Batman Forever.
The one with Val Kilmer. I thought Val Kilmer did a great job as Batman and Bruce Wayne.
I thought his Bruce Wayne was better. I thought.
Well, I would say the same thing about Ben Affleck. I thought his Bruce Wayne was spot on. I thought his Batman was kind of so-so.
Yeah.
So I would say the same thing about him too. But I like Batman Forever. But where that one falls down a little bit for me isn't Val Kilmer and isn't Jim Carrey. I thought Jim Carrey played up the Riddler quite well.
No, yeah.
It was kind of him doing his normal shtick, but I thought it really worked for that role.
You're gonna say Tommy Lee Jones, aren't you?
Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah,
I get that. I can understand that. I didn't dislike him as Two-Face.
What's up, Sippy? I didn't hate him, but he didn't bring enough interesting to the role.
Yeah,
like it wasn't.
It was just Tommy Lee Jones being Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, I mean, when he's doing like this good side, it's fine. It kind of works. But when he flips around and goes, "And me," and it's just so goofy, dumb.
No, he didn't really do
it's not
his
menacing and
much.
threatening like he's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
I
get it.
He was always kind of the cackling, and that's how the word I would describe him in that entire movie was cackling. He was always that character all the way through the movie. So he didn't really do the cool flip that you would have thought he would have done. But Jim Carrey was channeling Fred Gershwin, is that his name? Yeah. I thought he did a really good job mixing in his own style with an obvious thank you. Yeah. I think I would make a good Bruce Wayne too. I've been told Tony Stark also.
I think you would be a great Tony Stark.
But yeah, Tommy Lee Jones, I'm fine with, just like I'm fine with Arnold Schwarzenegger for the character of Mr. Freeze. I'm fine with Tommy Lee Jones for Harvey Dent. How the characters were portrayed, though, they all had to be clowns, and I didn't like that. That was ridiculous.
I always wanted Patrick Stewart as Mr. Freeze. I thought that would have been much better. Now, I will say that Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy was beautiful.
I thought she worked pretty okay. I mean, like when you put her next to some of the other female leads that they've had in there, like if you put her next to Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh no,
wrecks her in every way possible.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just been so many different women that have been cast in there, even just in supporting roles, like Nicole Kidman, Batman Forever. Oh my God.
Chase Meridian,
Drew Barrymore, and what's her face?
Yeah, absolutely, amazing.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're trying to portray her more as a sex symbol, which is what they were really trying to do after her transformation kind of thing, it just didn't work as well as other characters trying to being sexy in those roles.
Yeah, I thought that her character in that, and Uma Thurman can be very sexy. I've seen
absolutely.
Her in movies. That was the opposite of sexy. That entire movie, her stupid voice she was using. Hello, boys. There's me to go around. Like I didn't like that sassy.
And she went to.
Sorry for the impression, chat.
That whole because that's what they wanted out of all of those characters.
I know that's what they wanted, and that was what that movie was. Is that was a reaction to because the original Batman movie was like really well balanced with Tim Burton's aesthetic and bringing that into the movie as far as kind of a dark atmosphere and that kind of like Gotham feel, which has this like almost 50s kind of feel to the modern city. and like the tone of the film, where it kind of stayed balanced as an action film, but it didn't get too weird and creepy like Burton likes to do. With 2, they let Burton be more Burton, for lack of a better word, and it went so dark and so weird that they felt like they needed to make it more kid friendly and more family friendly in the 3rd one. Mm-hmm. And so they started turning things to where they were kind of turning up like the neon and the goofy playfulness. That's why you had Jim Carrey acting the way he did. That's why Tommy Lee Jones kind of fell flat as one note, because Two-Face was a bad pick for another villain in the movie, flat out, if you wanted to do a movie like that, because Two-Face is a very tortured character. It's a very tormented character. He did not come off as tormented at all.
No.
In that movie. So it just didn't work, right? That's why it worked better in the next one, where he really did come off as kind of a tormented, angry, rageful kind of character, right?
Right. Because
and then the next Batman movie where you had Freeze and Uma Thurman went even more madcap goofy, because you even had the Batman credit card and all that other goofy
and the bat skates
and the bat
skates
and the bat nipples.
Yeah, they wanted it to be like
all they needed was a shark to jump over, and they almost squeezed that in. So
they tried.
So they wanted to go more Adam West with it, which is what they did.
I think that's literally what the who directed that.
It wasn't Schumacher at that point, was it?
It was Joel Schumacher for those 2 movies. And he said he didn't watch the Tim Burton movies. He was focused clearly on the Adam West original campy series. Yeah.
Now they want to clip you doing that.
I should have thought about that before I started acting a fool. So, or at least got my words right for the line.
Well, hang on. Yeah, Schumacher did Batman Forever, which I liked. So how did he screw up Batman Forever or Batman and Robin so bad?
I think they wanted it to be more Adam West. They kept wanting it to be more kid friendly.
This is Warner Brothers pulling the strings, I imagine, and
because they didn't feel like they were getting enough of the family audience and the kid audience in there, and they wanted to draw that audience.
Yes, because remember, there's a big almost like scandal because of how shockingly violent people thought Batman Returns was. So that's probably why Warner Brothers they pulled the McDonald's toys. No one asked for it. You're right. Everyone liked the Tim Burton Batman movies except for the parents. So I think that was a rubber band reaction, was to go just complete opposite in the other direction.
So apparently Tim Burton produced Batman Forever, which Batman and Robin he had nothing to do with, and maybe that's where that might have been
where it got a little skewed, because he probably refused to go quite as far as they wanted.
Yeah,
with the next one, and they're like, okay, we'll just kind of do our own thing.
Like,
and don't get me wrong, Batgirl with Alicia Silverstone just, I mean, she's worth watching all that terrible movie just to see her.
Yeah, she is cute.
Or you can watch Clueless.
Or the hell is the Crush?
Where's the bad shark repellent?
Or the Crush, Rob. I like the Crush, and
was Poison Ivy was she in that movie opposite?
Was she in Poison Ivy?
The Batman and Robin was the one that had Alicia Silverstone, and it had Chris O'Donnell, I want to say, is Robin.
Chris O'Donnell came into Batman Forever.
They had Bane.
I guess I'm thinking of the Crush.
They had Bane. They had Poison Ivy. They had Mr. Freeze, and I think that was it. I think those were the 3 that they put in there, because they made Bane like he's completely one known that night. He's just like Bob. They made him like a really stupid character.
Oh, I hated Bane. And that's another reason I hated Batman and Robin so much, was what they did with Bane.
Yeah, they did a terrible job with Bane on that. And Poison Ivy was kind of weak. I'll admit Schwarzenegger looks like he's having a lot of fun playing Mr. Freeze in that, and I kind of have a soft spot for him in that one, because he's just having a good time.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Every line of dialogue from that character was literally an ice pun, though.
Absolutely.
Every word out of his mouth. I'm going to put you on ice.
Yeah,
Well,
except for when he said, when he gives him like the carrot and says, "Take 2 of these and call me in the morning." You know?
Yeah.
It's just him having
Going
a goofy,
to be a
fun
cold
time, man.
night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had an epic trailer though. I loved the trailer for Batman and Robin because it used the original Danny Elfman music, and it actually it didn't show any of the campiness. It just showed awesome characters. That there's Alfred's dying, and there's Batgirl now, and there's Mr. Freeze, and he's all crazy. So you didn't get any kind of indication that it was going to be a stupid mess, which is sad. I wouldn't have watched it if I'd known from the trailers it was awful.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, there's some redeemable qualities about it, but I mean, like some of it just goes too far. I remember rolling my eyes and groaning, but I laugh at it now. Chris O'Donnell, when they get on that thing and he goes, "Holy rusted metal, Batman!"
Yeah,
and then
right.
he just kind of looks at me and goes, "What? There's holes in it. And it's rusted and it's metal, Batman."
Right. Right. The metal, it's all full of holes. Those are the things that I liked about it.
And it was total callbacks to Adam West.
Yeah,
like it was so many callbacks.
And they were rappelling up the thing, like they were rappelling up the old.
Yeah.
Stuff. But there was just something about Val Kilmer's character that I just liked. That was more. It was just more straight up in the Batman role, and and maybe it was to Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne was just not millionaire playboy Bruce Wayne. He was a businessman. He was a straight-laced, shirt and tie. I'm coming in to see Max Schreck. Where Val Kilmer was really kind of just you never really got the sense that he worked for a living.
Yeah.
I just handled the bumbling part of Bruce Wayne better. Because I mean, Bruce Wayne, he didn't have glasses like Clark Kent, so he tried to be a fool. Or
right.
Like he couldn't possibly be Batman because he acts like that. Right. So Val Kilmer I liked his Bruce Wayne much better than Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne.
What I liked about Michael Keaton was social awkwardness, right? He was kind of this reclusive billionaire that didn't really understand people, right? So he kind of took it that direction. Like you look at him as an eccentric millionaire because he's just like, everything he's talking about, like when they're having dinner in that one room, and she's like, "Do you like having dinner in here?" And he looks at her and he goes, "You know what? I don't think I've ever been in this room." Lines like that, I think, work really well, right? Because he's got this huge house and there's all these rooms he's just never seen in it and all this just goofy stuff that he does that just comes off as like more socially awkward than bumbling. And I think in a way that works too.
But also, I don't think the Michael Keaton movies really had a whole lot of Bruce Wayne in them. There was like a couple scenes I could think of off the top of my head, mainly in Batman Returns. But they didn't really spend a whole lot of time with Bruce Wayne like they did with the other ones.
Yeah, in the first movie, it was mostly like the party, where he had like the fundraiser kind of party thing.
You could almost argue that he wasn't even the main character. It was Vicky Vale was almost the main character of Batman.
Vicky Vale was like the main character for that. Yeah,
I was gonna say the main character in that movie was the Joker.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he even got top billing in the movie.
Well, and there was rightfully so. Nicholson was amazing in that movie.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he was, and so the other Bruce Wayne part was when he walked in them in her apartment
when he wants to get nuts.
Yeah.
He was being Michael Keaton right there.
Yes, he was. But that's the only other part I can think of where he was.
See, the thing is I've seen Michael Keaton do comedy a lot. Like, have you ever seen?
He's a comedic actor.
Have you ever seen Multiplicity? Gun Home?
Multiplicity. Mr. Mom,
which is the next one I was going to. He's got good comedic timing and acting chops. He can do goofy.
That was the criticism of casting him as Batman. Was like he was known as being a comedic actor,
right?
When there's, I don't know who they would have wanted instead, but he wasn't known for anything other than that. I don't think.
But he was also short.
He's short.
He wasn't a tall guy.
Yeah, I don't even know how tall he is. He always seems fairly tall in the movies, but I mean, he might be what, 5'7"?
You're talking about Tom Cruise now or Michael Keaton?
Michael Keaton.
Okay. Because Tom Cruise stands on
like 5'5", man. He's like my height.
Oh.
He's a short dude. And everybody knows that about Tom Cruise. Michael Keaton's the one that always kind of seemed taller.
Yeah, but they haven't tried to put Tom Cruise in a superhero movie.
I think he thinks
Michael
every
Keaton's 5'9", man. That's not that short.
He's 5'9"?
He's 5'9".
That's my height.
Well,
Val Kilmer's only 6 foot, so Val Kilmer's only got 3 inches on him. Jack Nicholson's only an inch taller than him.
Yeah, we dove right into the Batman.
Yeah, well,
Batman Returns is a good launching point to what we really want to talk about.
I'm always up for talking like various different Batman.
Okay, well,
we could do a whole show just talking
a bit
Batman.
more time with Batman. What was the Roundtable opinion of the Batman, the recent one?
I haven't seen it yet. I need to sit down and watch it. I heard good things, but it's one of those movies I look at it and I go, it's going to take 3.5 hours to watch. Like, I struggle to spend 3.5 hours on it. It took me months and months and months to see the Snyder Cut. Because it was like 4.5 hours long.
I had a hard time with the Batman.
Next time we're going to do a whole episode on that topic.
Yeah, because
the heights of various actors. There you go.
Now go ahead, Mike. I'm interested. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I didn't love the movie either.
No,
so.
I wanted to like. I liked the Batman character, and I thought that what Matt Reeves did with the Batman character went back to the comic books. You know, he was highly intelligent, and to an extent. In the movies, Michael Keaton, everybody but George Clooney tried to play Bruce Wayne and Batman as intelligent. Michael Keaton spent a lot of time analyzing stuff and figuring things out. And the Robert Pattinson Batman did that very, very well. I think action-wise, he did a great job action-wise. Where I could not this emo Bruce Wayne thing, and I knew it was coming well before I watched the movie. So I'm like,
we saw it in the trailers pretty much.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a look. Maybe there's just pieces of it that, you know, I get it. You know, he's parents dead, that kind of thing. But man, I could not get into that brooding. There was nothing about that Bruce Wayne character that said millionaire playboy.
I think that they leaned in, and my wife hated that part also. She's a huge Batman fan, and she did not like the emo Batman. I could deal with that only because I accepted this Batman as the Batman the Bruce Wayne that Christian Bale was at the very beginning of Batman Begins, where he came back and he was vengeful and angry, and he wanted to shoot that guy in the courtroom. He's that character in his life right now. So in this was kind of, I guess Alfred's trying to kind of pull him out of that. And so I guess there's something of a redemption at the end where he kind of learns that he can have his dark side, but it doesn't need to bleed over into his life. But he was basically Batman, whether he had the mask on or not. So that was
I kind of like how they did that in the first Batman movie with Christian Bale, mostly because he comes back and he's like, look, you can't act like Batman all the time if you want to keep these things separate. Yeah. He's like, go do like rich person stuff. He goes, well, what do they do? I don't even understand it because he's been away training for so long. He doesn't know what a irresponsible billionaire would do. He's never been an irresponsible billionaire. He's always been laser focused.
The Batman was basically a whole movie of that conversation. Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, I kind of like this, just having that conversation and going, dude, lean into it, buy a stupid car. buy a hotel, take
the
a couple
restaurant,
of girls, and go do something dumb. Just lean into it to shake things off.
And
to
Christian
shake things,
Bale
right?
did that.
Hey, Phoenix, thank you for lurking.
Hi, Phoenix. I like the avatar. Christian Bale did that in at least the first 2 movies. So in the first movie, he was having the party. And in the second movie, he brought the girls to the restaurant and bought the restaurant and jumped in the lobster tank or whatever the hell he did, jumped in the fountain or whatever it was. So in those movies, and pulled up in a big fancy car and all that stuff. So that Christian Bale did that. I think he did Bruce Wayne a little bit better than Michael Keaton. Not as good. I think if my top 3 would be Val Kilmer, Christian Bale, and Michael Keaton, and then way down here is Robert Pattinson, and I would put George Clooney even below that, because George Clooney should never have been Batman or Bruce Wayne or had anything to do with anything.
He's only George Clooney, and that's it.
Yeah, he was. I kind of struggled with him in that role as well.
Yeah.
And the Val Kilmer one, I've not seen. I think I've seen. I can't even barely remember Val Kilmer as like Bruce Wayne in the movie. It's been so long since I've seen those movies. Right, I need to go back and try to watch like.
Well, there's like him and Chase
Chase Meridian.
Meridian. Okay, I wanted to say Manhattan. Because he went to her office a few times to get psychoanalyzed, and so he was doing the Rorschach test, and he was always choosing the bat or whatever, and so it was handing out some very obvious hints that he was Batman. So there was a lot of those kind of scenes with Bruce Wayne,
and then he was at the gala, and he was at the circus, and he was so like he definitely got out into the public, and that's where Michael Keaton didn't, George Clooney really didn't, Christian Bale did. But Val Kilmer got out in the public and flashed his prestige around. And that's what that's why I liked his Bruce Wayne. Like when he walked into the room, everybody flocked to him. Oh, it's millionaire playboy Bruce Wayne, and everybody comes and hangs on him and wants to talk to him and wants to be around him. That to me was Bruce Wayne.
But how much of Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne is Tim Burton doing Tim Burton?
Yeah, I don't think Tim Burton really does those kind
Absolutely.
of characters.
Tim Burton didn't create those opportunities in his movie. If you go back and look at it,
in either of them,
right? I mean, the
and very few of his movies actually do the characters do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
there aren't a whole lot of character building moments in Tim Burton movies.
Especially now. I mean, the closest you get,
you might even say that Tim Burton kind of
is him and Michelle Pfeiffer are dancing at the party.
Yeah,
and he's talking about them trying to like go away together. They're connecting this and the other,
and then they say each other's lines while from the fight.
Right. It's like,
do we have
to try to kill each other now?
Trying to have too much clever dialogue is what it distracted itself with instead of telling a good story.
I would say the only Tim Burton movie I would say there was character development in was Edward Scissorhands. I think there was a great but Johnny Depp also made that movie.
I would say Nightmare Before Christmas had a lot of character development as well.
That's a good point.
Which Batman movie is closest to an Xmas movie? Absolutely, Batman Returns. That's what's put off this whole total tangent conversation on Batman.
But this was a fantastic Batman discussion.
I've drawn on like 30-35 minutes of just talking Batman.
Welcome to RetroRoots, everyone.
Yeah, we're easily distracted.
Right.
And somebody mentioned like an actual silver screen showing of Batman Beyond, which I think is an amazing cartoon.
Yes.
If you guys have not seen the Batman Beyond cartoon, it's phenomenal.
Do you guys remember Mask of the Phantasm?
I love that. That is a
I've got that on DVD.
That is probably the most emotionally tormented you saw Batman out of the animated series, I feel like.
Yeah, but Joker was so good in that.
And the Joker was super good in it. There was such a connection between him and the person who was playing the Phantasm that even though she just kind of comes back into his life and everything like that, you get that connection. You get that history. They did a really good job of building that in a very short time span. Batman the Animated Series people don't talk about it enough, in my opinion. It's still one of the best Batman series ever
I
created.
kind of feel like it does get respect as being like the gold standard for Batman mythology. Batman, the characters, the character Mr. Freeze was basically created from the animated
Harley
series.
Quinn was created specifically for that particular series.
Working?
Yeah.
That established what we know now as the personalities. A lot of these supervillains was from the like. I kind of feel like even the Riddler got a bit more deep with his character in the animated series, where it kind of explored a little bit that he didn't always like being this character, but he was helpless not to be. Kind of went into that a little bit.
Yeah, and he becomes a lot more threatening in that one as well.
Yeah, he's a bigger character in that one.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, he's a much more dangerous character. The Penguin's still a little bit playful, but he's also threatening in a way that you didn't see him on a lot of other portrayals outside of maybe Batman Returns. And I thought it was handled better because he would use a lot of his gadgets and his money and stuff like that. And a lot of he had a very sharp mind that he could really kind of flex and pull strings with and try to get his point across. And that's what I always wanted the Penguin more to be. If you're going to make him more threatening, build up a lot of the tools of his trade and stuff like that. A lot of his gadgets and his umbrella and various different things that he's got. Build up his high level intelligence for crime and money management and things like that. Build up those things. Use those as tools, right? Don't just make him gross and call it a day.
Also, that was the first time I had heard of Mad Hatter. He was my favorite villain from.
Oh God, I forgot about Mad Hatter. That was a really good character too.
It was.
I think that was one of those kind of like lower tier.
They made him more upper tier, and I believe his voice was Roddy McDowell.
Was it?
Yeah. And then John Glover was the voice of the Riddler, who was also the mad scientist who made Poison Ivy in the Batman movie. He was also Daniel Clamp in Gremlins 2. See, it's all like a full circle what we're doing here.
Yeah.
see, we're bringing it back around to the topic, kind of.
And I think who's the original Hellboy?
Oh God, why can't I not remember his name?
Ron
the guy's an actor.
Ron Perlman, yeah.
Perlman.
I think he was Clayface in the animated series, and he was also Batman in some video game. So
total asshole.
Clayface is another character I didn't know of until the animated series.
Oh, he's a very big asshole, but a great actor.
I like him in Hellboy at least.
Oh, he was fantastic in Hellboy. He even talked about doing a third one. He really didn't want to do a third one, but he's like, look, if people want to see me in it, he's like, go get in the makeup one more time.
How can he be an asshole when he's not a big enough star to justify being an asshole?
Have you never met those kinds of people before? Like they do one thing that brings them some sort of note and they're total prick about it?
Yeah, he does it to try to bring more attention to himself.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, the Raw Flush Gang. Didn't they pop up in the Batman Beyond? I don't remember them being too much in the animated series. Clayface is the one I didn't even know about till the animated series.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, what a tormented character! What a great buildup of a character.
Also, another character I liked from the animated series that I hadn't heard of until the animated series was the ventriloquist.
Yes, I was going to mention it. This is phenomenal.
Now it's your turn to freeze. How do you like it? Say something else funny.
I always freeze on stream. That always happens.
You're thinking about it really hard.
And now
Panda's not here to make fun of you, which is too bad.
Nice to meet you. There we go.
This is what it's been like for me for the past couple episodes. Rain and freezing.
You know what? It's been fine until tonight. I haven't had a problem the last couple of weeks since
That's the first time I see you freeze up at all.
Yeah,
now,
you froze.
No problems. There's a problem.
You froze last week on D'Amico Forever. Yeah.
Crap. I'm gonna have to figure out my router situation again, I guess. Anyway, we have been going on for about an hour and 40 minutes. We do still have a huge crowd. However, we should probably wrap things up, mostly because it's 10 o'clock and I should spend some form of time with my wife tonight before I go to bed and wake up at 5:30 in the morning to go back to work. I could talk forever while frozen. It doesn't bother me. I'll just keep going and make faces at all of you while I'm frozen.
Oh my goodness.
Let me try turning off the camera and turn it back on. Hey.
No, I like it. This is great.
See if it does anything.
Looks like he's just perpetually disappointed in us.
Yeah, I am perpetually disappointed in you. That's Nick's corner, hoping no one sees him look. Jimmy's going wrong. She's on Facebook. Okay.
It's
Just want to see. Hey. We've been going for over an hour and a half now. We normally only run an hour and a half stream. So, Rob, what you got going on this week?
I don't have anything. What did I have to... I often stop myself in mid-sentence. So what did I have to say earlier? Was it...
I have no idea.
Well, Born Distracted... Was I about to make fun of Nick? Because I can still do that.
I mean, you're always making fun of me. That's just how we roll here. So, I mean, you know. Mike, what you got going on? I know you got NLG tomorrow, right?
tonight's forecast. A freeze is coming. Yes, tomorrow we actually, last week I unfortunately had a family emergency that popped up a half hour before we were supposed to go on. So this week will be the 301st episode of the NLG show. We're going to have one of our former panel member co-hosts that wasn't able to make the 300th show come on, and we are going to talk about the travesty that is the Video Game Awards.
Nice.
And why it literally is just, it is just irrelevant at this point and not worth anything. And then I still have, I would love to get some retro streaming done. I still have some Saturn games I need to play.
A Dreamcast game you need to play for Carla.
Yeah, I have a Dreamcast game I need to play for Carla.
Typing of the Dead.
Yeah, if I can ever find a good keyboard.
You don't have the Dreamcast keyboard?
I can't find it. I had one. I can't find it. Obviously, I had one because I have Typing of the Dead. I found my mouse. I have my Dreamcast mouse. I don't know. So I want to get some of that stuff done. I don't know what is going on with me, but I'm finding myself playing smaller games and playing retro games, and Nick looking at me judgingly. He's like, I'm disappointed in you, Mike. Look at that. He's got the look of disappointment.
I'm always disappointed in you. That
I
just
know.
goes without saying. However, playing smaller games is something that I've been doing a lot as well too.
So I beat Death's Door, which is a phenomenal Devolver Digital game. And I beat another, it's a semi-small game, A Plague's Tale Requiem, phenomenal game. And
I kind of want to play the first one of those before I do the second one. I've seen it on Game Pass. I don't know. It just, every time I look at that game, I go, that doesn't look like it's going to be fun to me. Like something about it makes me go, I don't know.
It is a surprisingly good series. And it's made by Asobo. It's a good studio. I am working on some other things too, doing some more things with the thing, that, so that's really where I'm going. I have no desire at the moment to jump into Sonic Frontiers or God of War Ragnarok. And I was all about these. I'm like, yeah, December's coming and I'm going to be all about God of War Ragnarok. And then I watched Peter play it and I'm like, okay, I played that game in 2018.
See, I kind of want to dig more into Sonic Frontiers because it's kind of a different take on Sonic. I've enjoyed what little I've played of it so far. I haven't really dug too deep into it. My big problem right out the gate with it is you need keys to unlock Chaos Emeralds, and unless you're really good at Sonic games, which I'm not, you end up repeating the same stage a lot because there's 4 keys per stage. So you get one for doing like an S tier run, you get one for coming out with like 80 rings, you get one for coming out with all the red rings, you get one for just completing the stage, that kind of stuff. So it could be a little grindy, I'm worried. It may not be, but right now I'm worried it's going to be a little grindy that way because I often have trouble controlling Sonic at those speeds, particularly in a 3D environment. So I'm prone to making a lot of mistakes on runs. I'm just not the best Sonic player. I like it. I'm just not the best player.
I think I'm going to put that game on ice.
Yeah. So it's kind of got that feel to it, but then I've only really run into the first real stage where you start hunting for those. And so I'm trying to get as many keys early on as I can, hoping it'll help me later as the stages get harder. Right. So I've only got like maybe an hour into the game so far. So I really haven't spent that much time on it to really make a firm call. It's just an early concern I have. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I've been playing God of War Ragnarok. It will probably be, certainly be the last big game I play all year long. And it does remind me of why I don't really like playing big AAA games. They're so time consuming, and I would much rather play, 10 smaller games in the same time it would take me to go through a big epic open world game with lots of side quests and cutscenes. So
that's kind of why I started getting more into the indie scene over time, because they feel a little more like the kind of smaller, more compact 4 to 10 hour experience that I want. Like even getting through Breath of the Wild, just going through it this time, like I finally finished that game, and I'm betting I probably spent 50 hours on it this time to finish it. That would be my guess. Total time in that game, I probably got 150, 200 hours into that game for a game that I wouldn't even put in my top 10 Zelda games, I don't think. I mean, if I'm going to have a big Zelda adventure, I would rather go back to Wind Waker. I'd rather go back to Link to the Past. I'd rather go back to the original Zelda or Link's Awakening or Link's Adventure, any of those before I'd come back to this, because it just didn't feel as much like a Zelda game as I wanted it to feel like. It felt like a weaker open version of an open world game where they didn't really commit enough one way or another on it. To be a real open world game or to be a Zelda game. It kind of felt somewhere in the middle with a lot of drawbacks. I mean, I'm glad they tried to do something different. I just don't feel like it was super original. Maybe original for the series, but not original by anything in a genre.
Born, he did say he's going to finish Adventure Island first before he goes back to Earth.
I can't stand that. That game is so boring. It's just not a fun game. It's really not. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really bothered with the DLC. The DLC didn't, from what I saw, didn't really look appealing to me on it either. So I don't know if I want to do the DLC on Breath of the Wild. I don't know if I want to spend more time on Breath of the Wild, quite frankly.
Well, you beat it, so I mean, you did your due diligence. You beat it, so you can, close the book on that chapter of your life.
Yeah.
It's weird that you don't like it, but I mean, I can't fault you for not putting enough time into it. You beat the game. So.
I mean, I put tons of time into it trying to find the joy of whatever I got in it, and it just felt like grindy for the sake of being grindy. I
didn't think it was grindy. It just I probably because I don't like most other Zelda games all that much. I loved it so much, and yet I keep buying them. So I guess I'm part of the problem, but. I loved how I didn't think it was that grindy at all. I did spend a lot of time grinding just because I wanted to get as much the health points and stamina points as possible as quickly as possible. But I did enjoy the fact that you had to go for a long time between story elements or story beats, that you had those trigger points, and you could get distracted any number of 3 dozen times on the way from point A to point B. And I think I probably put like, I want to say 200 hours in that game. And I had a lot of fun in every single hour. So I guess it is a matter of perspective.
And see, this is the way I would phrase it too. You could put any story to this, and the game would feel the same to me. You could put other characters in there, and the game would feel the same to me. So while it's a good game technically, it is not a great Zelda game.
Like
it doesn't
Nintendo
build like a Zelda game.
Down in value, which is stupid. And they don't.
Zelda, I think actually for Cyber Monday, I think it actually went down to like $20 or $30, which is the first time I've ever seen like first party titles go down at all on Nintendo. They're notoriously stingy about that.
Like I've been waiting for Yoshi's Crafted World because I love the art style of that game, even though I don't like Yoshi games. Right. I've been waiting for that to go down in price to a price that I'm actually comfortable paying, which is like maybe $20. It's still at $60, and the game is like one of the OG first party Switch games, pretty much. And it just is it ridiculous that they don't do the greatest hits re-releases of these games anymore. That they stopped that. I think
they really need to. I feel like they need to because I don't know. Breath of the Wild has no reason to be as expensive as it is now. I mean,
are people still buying it that much that they need that they it's
every freaking month
price? Really? Is it still
month?
It's crazy.
It is amazing when you look at like NPD numbers. What Nintendo Switch games remain on there to this day?
Wow. Okay. Well, I honestly, if people have not slowed down buying the game all that much, then I guess there's no financial reason to lower the price.
See,
I think you only lower the price to get more money.
Came to me like I want, and part of it was I over prepared for the last fight, right? So that's kind of on me. But I did not want to fail in the last fight. I did not want to deal with any bullshit. I was going to be done, right? So I went through and upgraded the Guardian armor as high as it would go. I went through and farmed the shit out of Guardian Stalkers, partially because in my head I'm screaming revenge every time I kill one of those bastards. And I killed every single one of them with a Guardian arrow because I refused to use the parry system in the game because it's trash. I can parry in almost every other game. I can't parry in this game. I just said, screw it. I kept Guardian arrows, and I just one-shot them constantly. I'd run out of arrows and go get more arrows because I have plenty of materials and plenty of money from farming like luminous stones and other gems that I could sell, of which I never found a good use for diamonds, sapphires, topazes, rubies. I never found any way to craft any of those into anything useful, even though they tell me there's a way to use those and to keep them. I could never find any of the base weapons to reforge things like the ceremonial spear or the light scale trident, because I could never find. I found one Zor spear in the entirety of the game, and I could never find another one. That was my other big problem. I'm like, if you're gonna let me recraft weapons, where do I find the base weapon? Why can't I just buy the base weapon in the town that I'm in? Why do I have to go somewhere to find it? And where do you find it? Because I could never find it. It was a random spawn on a Lisvos somewhere. I'm like, I don't care. I'll just deal without it. And so I ground up all the armor. I had like 30 Guardian arrows. I made 4 of those auto deflect shields for that last fight that all needed like ancient cores. So I was totally reloading saves and stuff to make sure I could get an ancient core. I built like 3 or 4 of those, and those were $1,000 a piece. So I did a lot of grinding to basically walk in there and absolutely trivialize that fight. It was completely trivialized. And the second phase is dumb. It shouldn't have even existed. The first phase was fun. That was a cool imaginative fight, even though I made it trivial. The second phase was stupid. Like, it had no point in existing. It was just dumb. It was a static enemy that shot one beam in one direction, and that was it.
That was when he was the giant beast form of Ganon?
Yeah. Because he didn't move. He didn't do anything. He was just a huge target. And the only reason it took me so long to do that fight is because I picked up the bow I needed, but didn't realize it didn't auto-equip it on me. So I was shooting my regular arrows at it going, wait, why is this bow using my regular arrows? It's supposed to shoot energy arrows. What's going on? And when I realized I wasn't doing anything, I go, wait a minute, do I even have this stupid thing equipped? No, I don't. And then it was an absolute joke. I'm like, this doesn't even need to be here. Like, why is this here? It looks cool, but it does nothing for the game.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Say pretty hard on that. I don't think you're there in a Breath of the Wild 2 kind of place right now.
I'm hoping I'm gonna wait and see what the gameplay is like.
I would actually like to. I was kind of hoping they would actually let you switch between Link and Zelda. I think that if they used gave her some magic kind of spells,
yeah,
or controlling animals, the kind of spells that Japanese games typically give to the female characters,
right?
That would be fun, especially if you can kind of use multiplayer to. I hope they do something more fun than just a rehash of this first game, which I still enjoyed.
I suspect they're going to do a rehash. What I would like to see them do is make the higher end weapons not break as easily. They last a bit longer than the first weapons you get in the first game, but I felt like weapons broke too easily, where I often just the first couple of playthroughs, I didn't even want to fight enemies because I knew the weapons were just going to shatter in 2 seconds. So why bother, right? Why am I fighting anything? Once I leaned into that, the game got better, but it still felt like everything broke too quickly. Having the ability to cook, but having it only being on a campfire outside, where if it rains at all or it goes dark, you can't cook. What's the point in that? I don't understand that.
Caves and stuff, I guess.
There was a couple of things like that were just nitpicks that really kind of ruined a lot of experience. And lightning storms need to come totally piss off in that game. Oh my god!
Yeah, it was dumb having to change your armor just because a storm came up. So there were a few very, very common complaints that everyone had with the game. I would expect that all of those will get addressed.
Yeah. And I know some people want a hardcore mode where they have less inventory space and weapons break faster, and I'm like, cool, make a mode just for them. Don't force me to play it. Well, what I'd really like to see is I'd like to see some of the gadgets come back. I'd like to see things like the hook shot and the boomerang and things like that come back. I miss tools like that to be able to use and solve puzzles. The magic effects were kind of neat, but Link himself has never really been a heavy magic user, and it kind of felt a little forced in this one. And the fact that you got all those abilities before you left the first island was kind of a big letdown, because most of the rest of the abilities were mostly for exploration or just pure defense, right? They didn't really help you solve puzzles. And then when you went into the temple things to get the little emblem things, you couldn't even use them. So I'm like, I don't know.
I liked it. So I liked I didn't have a problem with the way that the 4 main spells were used. I thought that they're all used pretty cleverly. So
yeah, but it was the ones you got from the Divine Beast that I thought that they could have done more with that they didn't.
There was only 2 that really helped. There was one that regenerated your health, and there was another one that let you jump high. And the other 2 I didn't use.
Daruk's protection is phenomenal. That one would reflect beams right back at the Guardians. It did that automatically. And could do it up to 3 times before it had to recharge. So I found that one very useful. I mean, if you're really good at parrying, which I tried for over 100 hours to get good at and couldn't do it, at the point to where I worked around that in the game. So yeah, for me, the parrying mechanic was useless. So direct protection was hugely helpful. I use that quite a bit.
Yeah, I think that if I were to play the game again, I would go and get those 2 upgrades first, since they made for me, they made the game easier to play.
Oh yeah, absolutely. For traversal, Rivali's Gale is pretty much where it's at, and then as far as just being able to survive a bad hit, which is pretty easy early on to take a bad hit because your armor is like non-existent for like 90% of the game. Mipha's Grace is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I never once used the
I don't know.
lightning one.
I forget what that even does.
It strikes lightning in an area around you, so it can like stun enemies, but I never bothered to use it.
Yeah, it doesn't really seems like a space filling.
Yeah, it was the last one you got, so it was supposed to be like super powerful, but I just never found much use for it personally. So that was just me. But I don't have too much going on the channel this week as far as what I'm doing. I do have a video that came out today on the Geek Historian channel. There'll be another one on Wednesday. I'll probably re-upload a different video on there for Friday. And then at that point, I'll probably have a stream or two this week. I would really like to beat Luigi's Mansion 3 before the end of the year. So that'll probably be a focus. I just need to be able to push through it. I tried playing it when I was on call, and then I got called in the middle of it about 40 minutes into playing it. So I really didn't get enough time in on it. So I want to buckle down and finish that one and get that one up on plate. I'm quite enjoying that game, even though it's got a few frustrating spots. Not that many frustrating spots. It's just not that kind of game. So I know some of you guys are new here that haven't seen my other channel. That's my gaming history channel, if you guys want to check it out. So that's another channel as to kind of find some of my content. But I am probably I can't seem to get it consistent, but I do want to go through Ninja Gaiden again just to get it done on stream. I can usually consistently get to like 5.2, somewhere between 5.2 and 6.2, depending on the run. Sometimes I can get to 6.3 if I can get through 6.1 well enough with what I need to pick up. Usually I can make it through 6.3 and make it through to 6.3. I'm still kind of struggling more honestly on phase 3 of the Jackio fight than phase 1 or phase 2. Phase 1, I can get in there with the spin slash, and that's fine. Phase 2, I kind of see a pattern there that I can work with. It doesn't always work. Phase 3 is just random chaos of crap falling down on my head that I can't figure out. I eventually get through it, but it's super annoying. Because it just randomly spits stuff. And I'm like, great, I have no idea what to do here. So I do want to finish that up as well, and then I'm trying to figure out another either longer or shorter game that I want to dig into on the channel to do that. But that's kind of what I've got going on. Other than that, it's sort of BAU. Me trying to stay motivated this time of year, trying to have time this time of year to be able to do stuff because things ramp up heavily towards the end of the year. Anybody that works in corporate America knows everybody takes vacation, and the poor saps that are left kind of get browbeat to death for the remainder of the year. So I'm kind of in that situation this year. So we'll see how that goes. But all we got a little over 2 hours. Any last words from anybody?
Merry Christmas. We should talk about it more this month.
Yeah, we'll absolutely do another. I would like to do a toy one. I want to get CM Retro on here, but we're having trouble pinning down a day. But I'd love to get on and talk toys with him. And I'd like to do another one before Christmas as well. Just to kind of
we could talk about anything we want on our show, and we do. So yes. We could basically turn any topic into a Christmas topic if we wanted to get
or Batman for an hour.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Or Batman.
The trick is we need to label the stream a Batman topic, and then we'll just naturally
get diverted into something totally different.
Yeah.
I feel like we're just gonna call it not a bad stream, and then we'll talk about something else for 2 hours.
Right. RetroRoots. We have to have the RetroRoots like logo come in.
I could actually kind of work that.
I bet you could. That would be awesome.
I've done small effects like that, not quite as well before, but if I work on it a little bit more, I could probably get it done. we're gonna bounce out of here. I'm gonna spend some time with the wife. I'm gonna be a little sad. My guest house cat that was coming to visit me finally went home today to, I suspect, sit alone in a basement. Which makes me very frustrated. But we will talk to you guys later. Have a great rest of your week. Hopefully, I will see you guys later in the week. And until next time, happy gaming.
Good night, everyone.
Young gamers. See you tomorrow night.
Yes. NLG tomorrow. Be there.
Be there.